Welcome to the Victors Nation podcast. This is like a slide episode, not like a full episode. Just a couple questions for our partners at Big Banner's Ohio affiliate. Can you guys introduce yourselves?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm Eric Boggs. I'm the host of the OHIO podcast.
Chris Wilds, co-host of the OHIO podcast. Go
We're
Bugs!
being friendly right now.
There's an odd
Go
moment
Blue.
of silence where we're all
Um,
kind of like, mm.
but no, it's not rivalry week yet, so we can have a little fun with these guys. Just a couple questions for you though. Um, how do you guys feel about Ryan Day as a coach right now?
Chris, go ahead.
I give it to I'm about to say Chris, I'll give it to you first.
Let me say this. A lot of people would look at a 45-6 record and say, that's a hell of a coach. Made a couple CFP appearances, hell of a coach. Let me tell you something. There's an expectation at Ohio State. Well, a couple of them. First of all, you win the rivalry game, you win the conference, you win the national title. He has not been successful in any of these three to this point. I mean, he did have a win in the rivalry. He has not won it the last 2 years. He has not won the conference the last 2 years, and he has not won a national title. He tends to, in my opinion, choke in the big games. I don't know. I think Ryan Day is a very, very good coach. I don't know that he is a great coach. I look at him, and if I were a Michigan fan, I would be very excited because I'm looking at this man and saying, here comes John Cooper 2.0. He could beat every team in this nation except for us. And that's kind of the way I feel about Ryan Day right now. And he's got to do it to prove me wrong.
Let me
Right
correct.
now, I
We want to keep
legitimately
it that
think
way too.
he's on the hot
We
seat.
want to make sure we keep it that way.
Let me correct Chris first
I
off.
was gonna follow up with a V on the hot seat.
So
But go
He is
ahead,
on
go
the
ahead.
hot seat.
yeah. So let me correct Chris. He's won 2 big championships. He has beat the rival first year, and as we know, you all decided in 2019 to all get COVID that year. Or 2020.
The team that actually got COVID, and
So
they just claimed it.
So I yes, he's pooped the bed the last 2 years,
And in
and
other big games, Eric.
the end of that game last year against Georgia was hard to swallow. We had that thing won.
Oregon.
Well, that's more on the defense side there, Chris, and he corrected that.
Is he
The
the
thing
head coach?
Excuse me, this is my turn, co-host.
Otherwise, you two are arguing with each other.
Yeah, well, we do this all the time. That's what makes us entertaining. So
Pick that
so
fan
here's
base apart. Perfect.
so here's the thing about Ryan Day is that he's a really good dude, but good dudes don't always win. Urban Meyer was not necessarily a good dude, but he's a winner.
He was a douchebag, but he was a winner.
So there is
I thought it together. Sure.
there is a growing
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
number of Buckeye fans who are getting very antsy about the lack of success. And the fact that Gene Smith is exiting stage left now and the way that he is done is set up, as we discussed on our last episode, a scenario where there's no way in the world he's going to fire Ryan Day, even if he craps the bed this year. And
Yeah, that was gonna be my next question. Is if after they lose, do you think if they lose? I mean, if you guys lose, do you think he's fired? But go ahead.
no,
I'm sorry.
not now. There's no way that a athletic director who's on his way out would fire him to then hire somebody new for the next athletic director coming in a few months later. He's not going to do that to the person who's going to be his predecessor. So he's going to give Ryan Day another year no matter what. So that's going to happen regardless. And so you say, is he on the hot
Okay.
seat? The answer is no, he's not. Now, he's on the hot seat for Chris, but that's not what matters. That's not Chris isn't the one who's paying his
The
paycheck.
fact is, Gene Smith's a coward who didn't want to take it and
And the
do the
check
deed, so
is
he
correct.
decided to retire instead.
I'm sorry, what was your question, Dre?
How do you guys feel about the realignment? How you guys feel about the realignment?
Go ahead, Eric. You can start.
I have mixed feelings, to be honest with you, Dre. Like, I love the idea of the matchups. I think there could be a lot of really cool things. Some really new cool rivalries that come out of it, like Michigan State and USC. Let's have a Helen of Troy rivalry here.
Mhm.
Educate the kids on the Trojan horse. Like, make a great new rivalry trophy
Right.
there.
Like it's a spear,
Minnesota.
like that's the trophy.
Well, I got
Exactly.
even more. I mean, how about this one? Minnesota and Washington. They're the both northernmost schools in the country. Well, how about the Kings of the North rivalry with a crown? And here's a real good one for you. I think you guys will like this one too. UCLA and you guys. Did you guys know that you guys are two, I believe, out of the four schools in the country, foremost schools in the country with Olympians from your school? You guys and UCLA are two of the top four. I think you guys should have an Olympic rivalry, man, where the winners get gold medals. That would be cool. And my
That'd be awesome.
Oh yeah,
favorite
that'd be
one,
nice. Yeah,
my
that'd be dope.
favorite one would be Oregon and Ohio State and what I'm calling the Nike Bowl, where the losing coach takes off his Nikes and hands them to the winning coach. Because Oregon and Ohio State, along with you guys, but you guys are more of the running man or whatever, Michael Jordan.
Michael
Uh,
Jordan.
Ohio State and Oregon are the two biggest donors for Nike. And so I think it would be awesome that the losing
Yeah.
coach takes off his Nikes and has to hand it to the winning coach as the rivalry trophy. Ducks
Dre
versus
would probably
Bucks.
take a pair of
Yeah,
those
that'd be
too.
great.
All the collection.
That'd be
Yeah.
that'd be
Now,
great. That'd be
now for
super great.
me, I love expansion from the standpoint of I can see the larger vision of what they're doing. And I talked about this on one of our previous shows. They have done the one thing right. We may not, it may be arguable whether we are the superior conference at this point, but there is no doubt that the Big Ten is now the superior brand in all of college athletics.
No doubt.
Given the fact that we've got the reach, given the markets we are now in, given to where I think we're still going to go,
Mm-hmm.
I believe that without a doubt, the Big Ten is the superior brand in all of college athletics. And for that reason, I really love the concept of what we've done with expansion. Now, obviously, there are some downfalls. We don't maybe as football guys see it, and even maybe the basketball guys don't see it so much, but the Olympic sports guys, the guys who are playing during the week, the guys who are the
Mhm.
guys and girls who are out on the road, sometimes playing 2 or 3 meets a week, 2 or 3 games a week. Traveling across country means you're almost going to have to develop this into where you are doing a major league baseball type schedule where you're going out there and doing
Yeah.
road trips when you're playing baseball on the West Coast. Because it's not going to be as simple as getting on the plane, flying there, getting on the plane, coming back, or taking a bus there, taking a bus right back. The travel and the impact is going to have a definite effect on the student athletes. From that standpoint, I think that we may not have thought this through as well. However, let's face it, guys. Right now, we are in a money and power grab for the market share of sports, and that's what matters, and that's where the Big Ten is excelling.
I'm a traditionalist by nature.
Exactly.
Yes.
And so the traditional side of this, the side of this that
We filled the Rose Bowl.
grew up watching the Rose Bowl and the Big Two and Little Eight, hates it, but the college football fan in me loves it.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of where I'm at. I have mixed feelings.
I think it's a good expansion for
All right.
basketball too. I think we're bringing in a lot of,
Oh, I
I mean,
agree.
UCLA obviously as well too, USC, Oregon, Washington. I mean, all four decent basketball schools as well too. I mean, obviously UCLA has a lot of that underneath their belt, but I think we're bringing in some solid teams. So Yeah, I mean the SEC might be great at football as well too, but when you're talking about a conference for overall sports, I mean, let's just talk football and basketball. It's the Big Ten for
Mhm.
sure. I think those are great additions for us. Awesome additions. I had a
So
Yeah.
question.
And my last
go ahead, Jay.
question
I'll go first.
to you guys is what do you feel about your quarterbacks? Like who will be your starting quarterback?
I'll tell you what. This is my take on it. Right now, I don't think it matters who we march out there if we don't get some solid play out of our tackles.
Yeah, it's the
I think either
yeah.
quarterback can succeed. I think either quarterback can succeed at a high level. I'm not scared of my quarterbacks. I'm scared to death of my offensive line.
Yeah, let us drop some knowledge on for you guys. This is us taking off our scarlet and gray glasses and being 100% honest with you.
For sure.
Your offensive line is awesome.
You
Ours
guys have had the best line in college football the
sucks.
last 2 seasons,
They
and
I
I
was going to
think
can't
this
ask you
year
guys
may be
about the
better.
trenches too.
they can't block a fart, dude. Here's the thing. They are really good run blockers. They were all road graders in high school. When I've been at practice, and even when I've not been at practice, but I've been listening to the guys who are from the media, they all say the same thing. The running game looks amazing. It looks good. It did.
And if
It really
Woody
did.
Hayes or Earl Bruce was running this team,
Yeah.
I'd love our chances right now.
But Ryan Day loves to throw the football. You're gonna have to take the passing game from his cold, dead hands. He won't do it. And
Hey, but no lie, he's good at it though.
yeah,
He good at
We're
scheming
great
that
at it if
pass
we
up.
keep the quarterback
yeah.
upright.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter if you can't block. When we were at the spring game,
Yeah.
Chris and I were counting how many seconds the quarterback had to throw the football. Now, granted, it's the spring game. I know. It was
Mhm.
2 seconds or less every
Every
play.
And that was against this second team defensive line.
I went to the open practice. It was the same thing on the outsides. They can't block. They cannot pass
That's
block. This past week, they switched sides on the tackles. We're 3 weeks from a game, and we
we're
still don't know who
experimenting
we're
with our
starting. We're experimenting. That's bad, dude. So, no, thankfully, we're going to have hopefully a whole season to get ready. But then the backups were looking terrible. And you got to have at least 7, 8 solid offensive linemen if you're going to be successful in the Big
our
Ten.
Yeah, I
depth
was just
is.
about to say
I think the
offensive
same.
line is a rotational thing.
So there is
It's a very rotational
definitely
thing.
yes. So there's definitely some anxiety in Columbus, Ohio, right now. You can have as many 5-star wide receivers as you want, but if you can't pass block, you're never going to get them the football.
It's where you start building your team, right?
Absolutely.
Offensive front. And
And
I was going to ask you guys. I was going to ask you guys a question about how you felt about your offensive line too, and any concerns as well there.
That's it.
Our biggest concern
it's our number one concern.
might
Number
be
one.
my only concern,
Our
honestly.
defense is going to be a lot better. They look really good. The defense looks really, really good. But that offensive line is keeping me up at night, and I'm not even the freaking coach. So it's going to be a concern. And the reason why this happened is our offensive line coach, Coach Studrawa, who came from LSU when Urban was here. He had back surgery and he couldn't even go out and recruit anymore. And Kevin Wilson, who was our tight ends coach and offensive coordinator, took over both positions. And his cup of tea is not necessarily recruiting. He did a good job recruiting tight ends, but
But now
he's
we
not
got
really.
a bunch of guys who are blocking like tight ends and playing tackle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now there's this 2-year gap in our recruiting. There's a 2-year gap in recruiting on the offensive line where they took a lot of guys that were kind of questionable, and now those guys haven't developed very well. And so we literally have a situation where one of our tackles right now who's competing is a true freshman. And that should never
Oh
happen.
wait.
Yeah,
I
and I
mean,
appreciate what you guys said about our front too. I mean, I think we have an extremely solid chance to win that Joe Moore Award and do a three-peat
yeah, I was going to
again
say it
this
would be
year.
third
We
straight.
almost have a semi NFL offensive line.
You got five seniors, dude. 5
Yeah,
seniors.
the transfer portal helped too, but like even some depth off of that as well too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just to kind of transition it, just staying with the trenches. How do you guys feel about your defensive front, your defensive line stopping the run this year?
I feel great about the defensive front. I think we got a couple solid run stoppers at the defensive tackle position. I think we've got guys on the edge who can really set the corner and keep guys from getting away from them. We'll get our linebacker play; they'll fly up into the hole. I don't worry about that. The stopping the run. My biggest concern, and we saw it last year, was defensive backs falling down.
We had more
disappearing
guys
in
slip
It
and
opens
fall
up the
last
run
year.
game, and they need support as well too. I mean, that could open up that run game as well too.
Yeah, it could, and it's just, for me, I think the defensive front seven that we've got is tremendous. I think it has the ability to be among the best defensive front sevens in the nation. We just have to see that increased production out of that defensive backfield.
And I think we will. They've recruited that position very well. They look really good at corner finally. They're playing really well there. We've got a lot of depth at the safety positions now. Guys who we thought were starting, they're not even starting. So the younger kids, the 5-star younger kids have stepped up now and are getting a lot more of attention. And hey, this is, Sonny Styles is going to play this year now, and CJ Hicks is moving in, and there's been a lot more of that buzz around those 5-star kids finally who are ready to go. And then, of course, you got your seniors with all the playing time behind them, who will be the backups. So we feel pretty good about the defense this year. It's that offensive line, Jason, that's going to either wreck our season or make our season.
You guys brought that up perfectly too, because that was going to be my first question as well. Like, I have one more question for you guys, and anyone else can go after. What are your thoughts on your defensive coordinator? What's your confidence level with your DC right now? And going into big games.
You want me to go?
I'll go. Yeah. So traditionally, Jim Knowles, when he's at a place, whether it be Duke or Oklahoma State, there is a really big jump between year number 1 and year number 2. Here's the thing about Jim Knowles. He's not a recruiter. He doesn't like to recruit. He is a freaking mad scientist. He's not married. He lives at the Woody and just lives and breathes defense. I like the guy, but this is kind of a make or break year. You don't pay a coordinator $2 million to not be a top 10, 15 defense and give yourself a chance to win, the big games. And let's be honest, if he would have made a couple different adjustments in the fourth quarter against Georgia, we might have been talking about a national championship last year. So that's real. That's real talk. Okay. So has he been perfect? No. But that last year was the first year in a completely new defense, and there was, I think, some thinking going on as opposed to just reacting and playing. Once you're more familiar with a new scheme, I think it frees your mind up to just play your game. And they have been flying around this year on defense on the practice field. There's a lot of confidence and buzz. A lot of the offensive guys are coming off the field going, dude, this is a different defense than what we played last year. So I think I'm confident that Jim Knowles has made some really good strides and adjustments. My concern is how long is that going to last? Because if you're not going to recruit, you can't send Brian Hartline out there to recruit your defensive players. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that's got me a little bit concerned for the long haul. Chris, your thoughts, man?
That's why we brought Tim Walton from the NFL, Eric. You know what? I have every bit of confidence in Jim Knowles this year. As Eric mentioned, year 2 is typically a big increase in production year. I think that he's going to be more comfortable with the players. He's got better knowledge of the players who he's got, what their skill sets are. And I think we're going to see, and we have seen through the spring, a much more aggressive defense. Playing a little bit meaner. I think that's a good thing. I think we kind of lost our edge a little bit. I think we went through during the Kerry Combs years, obviously, an era where we lost that silver bullets concept. And I think that we're seeing that coming back right now. Now, granted, we still have to see it play out on the field this year, but I have every confidence that the defense is a top 5 defense this year.
Thanks
I
for your
got you
take, guys.
guys.
Appreciate it.
One question that I have for
I
you
was
guys.
going undefeated until you
You guys mentioned it a couple times. You talked about the younger guys, the recruits, the 5 stars. So obviously we've hit a new era of recruiting with NIL. You guys have always there's no doubt about it. If you compare talent levels over the last couple decades of what Ohio State's been able to recruit versus what we've been able to recruit, that pure talent level based off of recruiting ratings coming out of high school is very different between the two programs. But how do you feel about the way Ohio State is approaching NIL when it comes to recruits? Because there are some programs that are basically buying recruits right now.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You want me to take this one, Chris?
Go ahead and start out with it, Eric.
Okay. Yeah, if you're going to compete with the SEC on a national level, you're going to have to compete in the NIL market. It's just that's reality. I know NIL is supposed to be name, image, likeness after you get on campus, and it's not supposed to be a bargaining chip when you recruit. But let's be freaking honest. Everybody's doing it. And if you're not, you're stupid. You're absolutely you're just
exactly.
you're wasting it. That's the biggest problem with Notre Dame, to be quite honest with you. And that's what I think that's why Kelly left. And I think that's why Brian, help me out here. Marcus Freeman is struggling a little bit, is because, there's this thinking of high morality standard that we have. We can't do that because we don't want to lower ourselves to that standard to do that. And I think that they're struggling recruiting because of that. And then you got to pay the piper, man. I mean, let's be honest. The bag man is legal now. I'm not saying the bag man's running around Columbus. I'm not saying he's running around Columbus, but here's what I do know for a fact. When a recruit comes to Columbus, Ohio, after he leaves campus, he visits the high-rise buildings in downtown Columbus where the NIL collectives are located. That's called business.
And that's what it's become.
Yeah, it's a business. It's a business. I'm in the business world. I do that all the time. When I go to negotiate contracts, it's business. You got to take emotion out of it. So you go on campus to get all the emotional things.
Yeah.
You go downtown for business. And that's reality.
And let me just add too, I think Ryan Day initially started out from a higher ethical standard with this. But I think, like Eric's saying, you have to buy in. You have to. That's just,
Ryan Day's not.
Especially when you look at states like Missouri, where they have legalized the coach going out and negotiating the deals, and you've got an inept governing body like the NCAA, and you guys know just how inept they are. An inept governing body like the NCAA, who can do nothing about it, and you're going to have the haves and the have-nots, and you're going to have programs, your historic blue bloods, your Ohio States, your Michigans. I can't say it, guys. I'm sorry. Your Michigans. You're going to have your Alabamas. You're going to have your Auburns, your Georgias. These historically traditional programs that are going to get their recruits, and NIL is going to be a great tool for them. And then you're going to have the have-nots.
So even the have-nots are starting to have. Have you guys noticed what Arizona's doing?
Oh yeah.
Arizona's offering 100,000 per recruit, no matter who you are. You come here, 100,000. You're gonna get it, and they got their first 5-star in like my lifetime. Okay, so like it's a different world, man. And
Missouri just picked up a 5-star DL too.
Yeah,
I think it was today. Committed.
Yes.
Like, who would go to Missouri? Like, For real.
Let's look at Dion last year, bringing the number 1 player in the nation down
Yeah.
to where was he at before?
Jackson State.
State.
Jackson State.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then taking them with
now
them to
he's got all
Colorado.
these kids going to Colorado.
Yeah.
So
Who
that's
goes to Colorado? I mean, come on. They haven't
Boulder's
been listed-
beautiful.
Colorado, the last time they were significant.
I mean,
was when
hey,
they played
I
you
ain't
guys
gonna
up
lie.
there with the Hail
Follow
Mary.
the cornerback. I'll follow Dion.
There you go.
You know what?
There
And
you go.
I can't fault a cornerback for following Dion.
Right.
I can't.
Yeah.
But it's just all
Yeah,
these
I was about to
other
say, if I
guys.
was a cornerback, I'll definitely follow Dion.
There's your honest answer, Derek. How about that?
Good. I love it.
All
Hey,
right,
so I got one more question for you
Yeah,
guys here.
we had a tomorrow. We had a guy.
One more question here for you guys. So, no doubt you guys dominated about 20 years, right?
Mhm.
Of this rivalry. And there were some stretches in there where it was not that competitive. Like you had to know going into the game that, if you guys lost, it would have been like the most heartbreaking thing that you probably would have ever experienced.
Always
Is there
is.
a little bit of you that looks back at the last 2 years and says, it feels good that this rivalry is back, that it's gonna come down when we play each other. It's gonna be likely 2 top 5 teams playing each other, and
Question.
Can I take this one, Eric?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, as a football fan, I'm going to take my Ohio State hat off for just a second. The Big Ten in college football is better when Ohio State and Michigan are both strong. It's that simple. When Ohio State, that team up north, and Penn State are strong, college football is better, the Big Ten is better. As an Ohio State fan, no, I hate to see it. I absolutely despise it because I am by far the oldest guy on this podcast. I guarantee it, and I vividly remember the John Cooper years. I suffered in agony through the John Cooper years, knowing that we were going to go undefeated possibly until we faced you guys, and then we were going to lose. It didn't matter if we had the greatest show or greatest team on earth. We were going to lose that game because John Cooper could not beat that team up north. Just couldn't. So for me, when Tressel came in and turned this all around, it was like a rebirth for me. I mean, my fandom went back through the roof. I had optimism again every time they stepped on the field. And I knew that we had a legitimate shot every time, no matter the game was in Columbus or Ann Arbor, at winning that game. My confidence is wavering again, and I don't like that feeling.
we know what you mean. We get it.
So being a child, I was born in 1981, so I can't really. I remember a little bit of the 80s, but it was I was little and didn't really pay attention until the 90s, and so I hinted that I had a story for you guys about being a fan of your school. I was in second grade and I had a teacher who was a fan of the Maize and Blue, and I admired her. And I came home one day and I told my dad I was going to root for the other team. And he kicked me out of my house as a second grader. I packed my bags, made it out to about the mailbox, and came back crying and told my dad I was sorry. I'll never be a fan of that team. So when you ask me if I ever will be, I can't. Sorry.
Eric,
It's not.
I got a question. I got a question for you, Eric.
Yeah.
There's only one thing that could have driven you to that. Just how hot was she?
She was pretty good looking.
Yeah.
I was in second grade, all right?
Yeah, I was going to ask the same thing.
So we like to say on our show that being a fan of Ohio State is being a part of a cult. It really does feel that way. Chris got to take his daughter to her first game, and she told him, she said, "Dad, you are in a cult." And we're like, "Yep, we are. It's a second religion pretty much." And so that being said, the 90s were rough. The 90s were rough. And when 2 years ago, when you beat us, I remember saying the rivalry's back on. And I remember the old timers, even older than me, saying, you don't want to say that. You don't want that. And I
I
remember the
believe I told
90s.
you that.
Yeah. There's this weird like I know you guys do it too, but there's like this weird like love affair with the 10-year war between Woody and Bo, right? Where you guys went 5-4-1 in those 10 years, and it was back and forth, and it was something people on both sides have written books about, and they've made documentaries about those years and whatnot.
Mhm.
I much rather prefer the Jim Tressel, Urban Meyer years myself,
Absolutely.
to be quite honest with you.
I will be completely content if those years never come back.
Yeah, I'm sure you
Yeah, I'm
will.
good with that too, actually. Chris, I don't want you to have
Exactly.
like a heart attack or anything like that, but I'm, professional way. I'm glad you're kind of feeling like that right now.
No, not. And you
Years
know
have been.
what? I reveled in your misery for 2 decades, so
Yeah.
you've earned that right.
We can
But
both stress out together.
Many a nights crying because we couldn't beat Ohio State.
Yep.
My all-time favorite thing was it was a couple years ago when some guy, you've probably seen this before. Now it's not the one that was on television, but he made a video of smashing his Jim Harbaugh bobblehead with his driver in his backyard. You guys ever see that one?
Oh,
Oh man,
I mean, I'm sure.
I played that thing on repeat for at least a month.
I'm
it was
sure.
right up there with burning the LeBron jerseys, man.
Yeah, a lot of Buckeye fans are Cleveland fans. Now I am not, so I don't have to worry about that. But yeah,
I want you guys to say one nice thing about Michigan.
Simple.
I got one. I got one thing, Chris. You got one thing?
Yeah, the fishing's great.
I was going to say the Sleeping Bear sand dunes are beautiful.
One nice thing about Michigan football. Sorry, I should have been more specific.
Best
That's
offensive
what we
line
meant,
in the
man.
country the last 3 years. You can recruit all the skill position guys you want, and that's what we've excelled at. But the fact is, you guys have recruited well where it counted, and that was in the trenches.
Yep. True.
So I got to say one nice thing about your program. Is that what you were telling me, Jason?
Yeah.
And we're recording, so shoot.
Do you guys count?
No. I had to say something nice about him.
I was about to say,
about him.
Oh, one nice thing. Gosh, that's hard. That's really hard. I will say this. Okay, I will say this. There's nothing more beautiful than scarlet and gray and maize and blue on the field together. Those colors are gorgeous with one another.
Wait,
I hate your colors, but when they stand next to scarlet and gray, it looks good, man. I think that's when you look at all the other rivalries out there, Duke, North Carolina, Auburn, Alabama, gosh, Oregon State for that matter. There's nothing color scheme wise more beautiful than our two teams when they're standing
agree.
side by side.
There
you go.
I got another great thing. To
it's
say
nothing
about
like the game.
it.
Sure.
They
You got
lose
two,
with
Chris?
such grace. They lost for nearly 2 decades with such grace. Let's
Just
begin
that
when I
again,
thought you
that was
had
guys.
two
more
good ones.
that was more of the answers that I was looking for both ways.
Let
But
the
we got
games
two real
begin,
compliments.
gentlemen.
I guess I'll take it. It's cool.
Cool. Any other questions,
That's all
guys?
we got.
I'm glad we got to do this with you guys tonight, man.
Yeah, it's been
Yeah.
a
Yeah,
blast.
Yeah.
Thanks
been
for
fun.
I'm so
And
glad
I'm
we got
really
to do
looking
this with
forward to
you guys.
rivalry week, man.
All right.
I think we're all gonna have a lot of fun during rivalry.
Brandon,
Oh, yeah.
Brandon, we need the
Yeah.
check in the
Oh,
mail for
yeah.
all the hits this thing's gonna get, Brandon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
All right.
All right, awesome. Well,
Yeah,
hey guys, thanks for having us on your podcast. Thanks for sticking around, flipping the
All right,
script
man.
here and
Thank you
hanging out
guys
with
so
us.
much.